What's up, guys? It's your boy Bilo back again, and as promised a week or so ago, we are back to revisit the Helix Native 2.3 patch and the 3 amp sims I didn't review in the last video. So the 3 amp sims I didn't review were the Brit Trem Norm, Brit Trem Bright, and Brit Trem Jump. So, you know, this may sound elementary to some of you who already have had amps, but maybe some of the new generation don't understand what's going on here with Helix's little patch setup. So this is like a plexi, right? Like a Marshall Trem amp or something like that, tremolo amp. And so what happens in these amps, in the original architecture of them, is you'd have like 4 input leads or something along those lines, right? And so like with a Fender amp or like a Vox amp, you have a normal circuit and like a bright circuit, right? Or like a top boost circuit. Or you have like a normal in the Fender case and then like a tremolo. So like a normal and a tremolo, right? And so essentially that's what's going on here. They're trying to model the architecture of an amp that has multiple inputs, right? And so one input is like the normal circuit, which will be like a, you know, like a duller tone, right? So like think AC, right? AC 30. So you have just the normal channel. Then you have a top boost channel on top of it, right? So that's what you have here. You have the Brit Tremolo or whatever normal, and then a Brit Tremolo Bright, right? So those are your 2 channels. And then they have the jump, right, where they jumper them. And so essentially what you do is you put like a patch cable in the input of the Bright and then in the input of the normal and then in your actual guitar input. And so what happens is you have both of those circuits actually playing at the same time. And so that's beneficial because you'll get like a distorted circuit and then you'll get like a DI circuit, right? Just like the normal clean channel circuit. So you'll get all the gain characteristic and complexity and breakup from the tube section and the preamp section being, you know, nice and warm up front. And then below that, you'll have, you know, coming through the same speaker on these amps, right? Like a combo amp with 2 different channels being on at the same exact time. You'll also have the clean, so you'll get that definition and clarity of the actual clean signal. So as you play in those type of amps, when you jumper them, you have both. So if you think about it like in terms of lights, right? If you have a blue light on and then you put a yellow light on, you got blue and you got yellow. But if you put them on together, now you got green. That's what's going on here, right? So these are pretty cool in their own context. We're using a parts caster here with some Dragonfire like duo rail or something like that, duo single, and then a fat screamer in the neck. Pretty basic tone here going through the normal. So what I did just there, you know, subtly is a very good example of it, right? So you hear my guitar through the microphone. Call that the bright or the normal channel, right? But then whenever I fade up my amp, you hear the amp and then the guitar. That's like jumpered or jumpered, right? But when I fade out the microphone and just strike the guitar, all you hear is the amp. So, you know, it's one of those things, exactly what you know, the Line 6 crew is doing here, and they're doing it right? What you want to do is have 3 separate amps for this, and then, you know, you could even run 2 different strings and have like the bright and then the normal, and then you'd have that jumpered effect, right, running like 2 different parallel paths in the signal chain. But here we'll just, you know, make it easy and go to jump. So anyways, with that being said, here's the norm. You notice how it almost sounds like there's like a blanket over the speaker cab, right? It sounds very muffled and woofy. And that's why I waited, you know, a week or 2 to make this video specifically with these 3, because I just couldn't get anything. I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. And then I realized what's going on. Okay, that's by design. So here's the Bright. You know, the Bright's a little bit more ballsy and a little bit more... as you can see there, on all three of these little patches I got going on, I'm hitting them pretty hard with the compressor and then some noise gate. I got some lights here and I'm running single coil, so I kind of have to have the gate on. For delay on all three of these patches, we're rocking the Elephant Man, and then you know, some Hall reverb, and then of course my Opti Trem at 1N1, which is, you know, the secret sauce, and an IR. The IR of choice here is in 2048, the EVH 5150 IR from Rosen Digital Audio. So yeah. So yeah, that's the Bright, and the normal will go back and forth. So, you know, I'm liking the Bright a lot. I love the Bright. In fact, I love the Bright with my my Friedman. A little bit out of focus here. This is the Buxom Boost pedal. This is like the best pedal ever, right? Like, I have the Brown Eye and I have the Dirty Shirley, but this Buxom Boost pedal is where it's at. I have the EQ circuit out of the pedal, so it's just boost and tight, or just boost probably, I think. And what we'll do is we'll go in context, we'll play some tones, and then we'll, you know, throw a mixed track up and we'll play with it. So right now, here's the jump. So in jump, you're getting both of those two individual amp sims, you know, 50-50'd. So right off the bat, you know, when we go through the actual jam track, right, and I'm playing over it, you're going to notice a big difference. And we're going to play a jazz-based jam track. So, you know, in context, you know, woofier, woollier, fuller tones typically tend to be the norm in jazz music, with the tone dialed back a little bit, and that gives you kind of that slash, you know, that woofy sound lead he goes for a lot. So, we'll see what happens. And so, yeah, periodically, I'm going to throw on the Friedman. So let's just let you hear what that sounds like in context. Yeah. So this is the Friedman. Now it's off. Yeah. So just put a little bit of hair on the dog. You know, nothing too much. And as you can tell, it kind of adds some noise. I like the Bright channel. I don't necessarily like the jump as much as I like the Bright, so that's just my final thoughts. So, alright, so here's our jam track, backing track. We're using Gaston Acosta's jam track, and it's smooth jazz backing track in A minor. It's a short one, like 4 minutes, so we'll probably loop it. We're in the normal channel on the native, and then we'll go to Bright, we'll go to jump, we'll throw some gain on there. that's the jam track. That's what the 2 or the 3 different patches sound like in context. I was actually having a lot of fun there. That was really, really cool. Yeah, that's pretty good demonstration of what's going on with these little patches here that Helix has made. They're okay. I think overall they sound really woolly and woofy, so maybe I need to adjust my impulse response. And backing right now we have playing guitar maps backing tracks. This is smooth jazz backing track in D minor scale chart, maps tracks. So with that being said, I really enjoy some of the other presets that came in 2.3, so this is kind of be like my final wrap up, my final thoughts on 2.3. I really in theory love the whole thing with what is that delay called? Yeah, the Cosmos Echo, right? Like in theory I love that, but in reality the way it plays out for me, I'm just not able to make heads or tails of it. So here's like the Worship Tutorials newest patch that they released. I picked it up yesterday for like $2 on their website, and it's using like the cartographer amp, and then it has that Cosmo, right? Like, I just don't know how well I like the repeats being distorted. To me, that just doesn't work for me very well. They kind of distort. So, I don't know, maybe I'm using the Cosmo Echo wrong. Maybe I need to spend more time with it. Or maybe it's just not for me. I think it's not for me. I just like an Echoplex type situation where it warms my tone and rounds my tone up, not necessarily distorts my repeats, right? And like I said, maybe I'm using the Cosmo Echo wrong. Anyways, with that being said, for 2.3, that's one of the big features that they had thrown in there. And what I'm saying is I really don't care for it all that well. I mean, it's okay. And then, like I said, those three new amp sims, right? The Brit Trem Norm Bright Jump. I'm kind of like, okay, cool. I mean, they sound true to like a Marshall, because a Marshall sounds relatively fizzy, and then like those amp sims sound like there's something over the amp speakers, so it's not, the fizziness isn't so fizzy, right? Like the only way to describe that is if you have a Marshall sitting there and you have like another amp like a Fender, and you A/B the two directly, like right after each other, like someone just plugs in for you while you keep playing, you'll hear the fizz that a Marshall tends to offer, and then that's a cool thing. Like when you're doing lead and stuff, like you need to have that fizz to cut through. With that being said, I personally I'm not gonna play those amp sims. I want something clear, and so for me, for my money, with regards to patch 2.3, I'm a fan of the cartographer amp, right? And then the what's the other one? The cartographer, and then the volts. Yeah, the voltage queen. Those, so like for 2.3, I'm really into those two amp sims. With that being said, everything else is cool, and like I said in my previous video, I know that line 6, we were here, and line 6 needed to get us here so that, the next patch, like 2.4, will be here, right? They had to unify all the codes for all the editors, make an editor that made sense for all the platforms, so that going forward, going to tomorrow, they could do everything a lot more efficiently. Cool. That's a big, under the table, like housekeeping type of patch that individual players like us may not see value in. Like, what's the big deal? Why did it take so long? And there's just only 3 amp sims, or like 3 that for me, like 3 amp sims that I would use. I'm not going to use the bass amp sim, right? Obviously, and I personally don't care for the 3 amp sims, the Brit Trem ones. I'm just, whatever. But, like I said, the cartographer and the voltage queen, those are the ones I would definitely be using going forward. In fact, I see a lot of people actually gravitating to the cartographer amp, right? Like all the newest, latest patches from everybody, including this worship tutorial ones, has the cartographer amp sim on there. So, that's awesome. And like I was saying, just a moment ago, I'm eager to see where line 6 takes us in Helix in 2.4. Some things I want for Christmas or for NAMM 2018, for example, Winter NAMM 2018, is more reverbs, as everybody's saying. And I just want more amp sims. I want a Friedman amp sim. I want the Sir Bella amp sim. You know, like I'm looking at the Kemper guys, like that guy HW, and he's got these amazing amp sims for his Kemper, and it's like making me want a Kemper so bad. It's like, wow, that sounds amazing. I want that in Helix. I want a Sir Bella amp sim, and I want like a Friedman amp sim. I'm good on the Marshall amp sims, you know, Helix. If you're listening, the Line 6 guys, if you're listening, we have plenty of Marshall stuff in here. We can slow down on Marshall. In fact, Marshall isn't even like making amps in UK anymore. As of yesterday, Dave Friedman, the day before on the Tone Talk Live, you know, dropped a bomb on everybody saying Marshall's no longer producing amps in the UK. You know, so what does that mean to me, an individual player? Marshall's out of the game. Either they're going to Vietnam or Korea or China, or they're out of the game. And so stop making Marshall amp sims. I don't care. Make other amp sims. Give me, like I said, a Friedman amp sim, or give me a you know, some Sir amp sims or something like that. Some boutique amp sims. So anyways, with that being said, that's been this video. This is patch 2.3, the last 3 as I promised. Hope you guys liked it. In the context of a jam track, I'll catch you guys next time. We'll catch you next week. We'll do a little bit more exploration in 2.3. All right, guys. Rock on. I'll catch you next time.